For 4 years, Amelia Lou and I were too compatible, so much so that it gave her the wrong idea. Maybe spending a lifetime with Joey wouldn't be so bad. She started flaunting our relationship everywhere. And soon, rumors spread that we were getting married. But just as things were heating up, my brother, who'd married and moved abroad, suddenly got divorced and came crawling back. Amelia was the first to greet him at the airport. She dragged him to events, introduced him to her contacts, and basically handed him a golden ticket back into society. Everyone expected me to be humiliated, but honestly, phew, dodged a bullet. Who actually wants to marry her? Amelia was in my bed when it happened. I had her pinned beneath me, her face flushed, breath ragged, until that ringtone cut through the moment like a knife. She jerked away like a fish slipping through my fingers. "Where do you think you're going?" I grabbed her wrist. She shoved me off. "Luis is calling. It's important." No shoes. No hesitation. She took the call in a rush, her frown melting into something soft. "Don't do this again. Wait for me. I'm coming." While she showered, I lay there, staring at the ceiling. I didn't care what Luis said. All I could think about was that damn ringtone, the special one he'd set on her phone before leaving. "You can't change this. Every time you hear it, you'll think of me." And like an idiot, Amelia had begged him to stay. But Luis left anyway. That night, she got drunk, smashed her phone, then cried herself to sleep. Later, she got a new phone, and for some reason, became obsessed with finding that ringtone again. At first, she just wanted closure. One last listen to bury the past. But she couldn't remember what it sounded like. Night after night, she'd scroll through songs, chasing a melody she couldn't name. And now, she'd found it. Amelia rushed out of the shower, dressing in a hurry. "I'm leaving. Don't wait up." I called after her. "Amelia, let's end tea." Our relationship had always been messy. At first, when people asked if we were dating, she'd laugh. "Just friends with benefits." I never corrected her. Then, 2 years in, she introduced me as her boyfriend. I was shocked but played along. 6 months ago, she asked if I'd marry her. I proposed in some grand, romantic gesture. Rose petals, candles, the whole cliché. She smiled like it was perfect, and I almost believed it, until I overheard her talking to her best friend. Maybe a lifetime with Joey wouldn't be so bad. Not, "I love him." Not, "I want this." Just, wouldn't be so bad. I spent weeks restless, uneasy, until Luis called. And suddenly, relief. Turns out I didn't want to marry her either. "What did you say?" Amelia froze, then her face twisted with something ugly, betrayal, fury. The same look she'd had the night Luis left. But this time she didn't cry. She just stared like she wanted to tear me apart. Then she turned and walked away, her voice barely a whisper. "Fine." Luis was back because his model wife cheated. For art, apparently, then took his money and ran. Karma's a bitch. I'd always known their undying love was funded by the allowance I provided. But whatever. 3 days post-breakup, Amelia still hadn't picked up her things. Her assistant gave me the runaround, so I changed the locks and moved back to my city apartment. Good riddance. That night, I needed a last-minute +1 for a banquet. My assistant hesitated. "Isn't Manager Lou going with you?" "She's busy." After some frantic searching, she offered, "There's a delivery girl available. She's feisty." I expected disaster. Instead, legs for days, curves in all the right places, and a mouth that would not shut up. "We don't do escort work. Well, not usually. Extra fees apply. Also, will your ex file a complaint? My rating's 99.9%. And, shut up, I hissed. Do well, and there's a 5-figure bonus in it. She grinned. Professional mode activated. The professional gasped the second we walked in. Holy shit. Language. She pointed. Your fiancée's here, and she's arm in arm with... Oh, this is juicy. Luis, of course. Before I could react, he swooped in, oozing fake concern. Brother, you've been ignoring my calls. Mom and Dad miss you. Translation. I'm the good son. You're the heartless jerk. I smirked. When did you call me? He backpedaled. You don't remember your own brother's number? Then Leona, my fiery delivery girl turned date, jumped in. Oh, please. If you're apologizing, just say sorry. If you're being shady, let's air the dirty laundry right now. Amelia's glare could have melted steel. Who the hell are you? I tightened my grip on Leona's hand, and then, she yeeted me aside like a used napkin. Well then, for a second, I thought I'd teleported. How the hell was this girl so strong? Then it hit me. Loves boxing. Fierce lady. My assistant hadn't been exaggerating. Amelia's glare burned into Leona. Take your hand off him. Leona just lifted her chin, smug as a cat, and laced her fingers tighter through mine. Harassing someone else's date is illegal, sweetheart. Read a law book. Amelia's composure snapped. I'm his fiancée. Luis cut her off, panic flashing as he yanked her back. Amelia! She looked at me then, just once, before swallowing whatever she'd been about to say, letting Luis drag her away like a dog on a leash. Later, Leona proved surprisingly professional. Aside from complaining her face hurt from fake smiling like a beauty pageant contestant, and that starving at fancy parties was inhumane. I scoffed. You ate 4 whole chickens. They were small chickens, she said, rubbing her stomach mournfully. Still, I handed her a fat red envelope on her way out. She left muttering about respectable employment, which I ignored. Amelia was waiting in my hallway like a ghost when I got home. I tried to sidestep her, but she crashed into me, arms locking around my ribs like a vice. Her mouth was on mine before I could react. I shoved her off hard. What the fuck? She stumbled, then lunged again. This time, I palmed her collarbone, holding her at arm's length. Amelia's laugh was ugly. You're pushing me away now? Weren't you the one begging to fuck me every night? Even after I dumped you. The words hit like a sucker punch. My throat tasted like blood. So this was how she saw me. Some pathetic, panting dog. I forced a nod. Yeah, I wanted you. And you wanted me too. Until Luis snapped his fingers. Stepping closer, I dropped my voice. Touch me again, and I'll file a restraining order. Amelia and I had grown-up neighbors. I was her first crush's boring younger brother Luis, the golden child with the personality of a golden retriever. When rumors swirled that I might be illegitimate, our surnames didn't match. Amelia made Luis apologize. Not for me, to protect his reputation. Then Luis eloped with a model, and Amelia lost her damn mind. That's when I made my move. I don't like you, she'd said. Who said anything about liking? I'd replied. We understood each other perfectly. 2 weeks later, my mother summoned me. Translation. Luis needs your 30 million yuan cufflinks and your dignity as a punching bag. As for Lisa, nothing happened between us. She wasn't like Alicia's crowd. She had self-respect. She never reached out senior year, and after graduation, she went back home to teach. There are a lot of poor kids there, she said. I want to help. I admired that. I tried staying in touch, but she wasn't interested in dating. The only time she asked me for anything was when she needed clothes for her students. I donated some old things, and after that we lost contact. But I still think about what she said about dignity. That girl. I hope life treats her well. How much do you want? Leona held up 5 fingers tentatively. 50,000? That's fine. Her eyes nearly popped out of her skull. I was going to say 5,000. Before I could react, she launched herself at me, wrapping me in a vice-like hug while rubbing her face against my shirt like an overexcited puppy. From now on, you're my benefactor. I'll be on call 24/7. I wheezed, feeling like a noodle being squeezed through a pasta maker. All right. Let go before you break my ribs. That night, as I sipped yellow wine after a late conference call, my phone rang. A friend's voice came through, laced with disbelief. Dude, what's happening? Luis and Amelia were just spotted making out in public. Weren't you two engaged? I sighed, swirling my drink. We're done. She's free to marry whoever she wants. I hung up before the questions could continue, downing the rest of my wine in one bitter gulp. Just as I was heading to bed, a commotion outside my door made me yank it open, ready to yell, only to find Leona beaming at me with moving boxes. "Good evening." I rubbed my temples. "What are you doing here at midnight?" "Moving in." She pointed cheerfully to the apartment across from mine. "How can I be your 24/7 secretary if I don't live nearby? What if you need something at 3 a.m.? I opened my mouth to argue, but the hopeful look in her eyes made me sigh. "Fine. Send me the rent bill." As I turned to leave, she mimed zipping her lips, a silent promise not to disturb me. Surprisingly, I slept like a baby. The next morning, office jaws dropped as I walked in with Leona trailing behind me. My assistant's eyes nearly bugged out of her head until I explained, "She's my new personal secretary." The whispers started immediately. Clearly everyone assumed we were sleeping together. Leona, oblivious, suddenly burst out laughing. "What's so funny?" I muttered. She grinned. "Everyone else is smiling. Wouldn't it be weird if I didn't join in?" I face-bombed. Had all her stat points gone into strength instead of brains? Her usefulness became apparent when my mother and Luis tried to storm my meeting. Leona blocked them effortlessly, herding them to my office like misbehaving children. By the time I arrived, Mom was mid-tantrum. "You want to drive us to our graves? You promised not to tell Luis about Amelia." "I never promised anything," I said coolly, watching Luis's face twist with realization. "You knew she loved me," Luis spat. "Yet you took advantage. Don't you feel disgusting?" I stepped closer. "Were you married to her then? Dating her?" "No." "Then she was nothing to you." My laugh was razor-sharp. "What right do you have to question me? You, who ran off chasing true love, but still expected Amelia to wait like some backup plan." Mom raised her hand to slap me, but I caught her wrist mid-air. Luis lunged, then froze when Leona cracked her knuckles loudly. "Security?" I said calmly. "Or do you prefer to leave on your own?" The drama continued when my assistant rushed in. "Amelia rejected all our pending collaborations." I called her directly. "What do you want?" Her voice was honey-laced poison. "Come discuss it in person." Leona slipped a panic button into my pocket before I left. "Press this and wait 10 seconds. 10 seconds? Can you teleport?" I joked, but her expression stayed grave. Amelia's negotiation turned out to be an ultimatum. "Step down as president. Hand the company to your father, and we'll resume all collaborations." I stared at her. "Is this Luis's idea too?" "This has nothing to do with him." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Why must you be so stubborn? If you just compromise, your family might forgive." "Forgive me?" The words hit like ice water. "For what? Existing?" The truth was, I'd known my place in the family since childhood. My parents had never wanted me. I was an accident that nearly killed my mother during birth. "He's here to collect a debt," she'd often say, recoiling from my touch. When Luis was born, their golden child, I wasn't even allowed near him without being accused of malice. It was my grandparents who'd shown me real love. Grandfather, who'd married into the Fu family, had been my protector. Joe did nothing wrong. He'd snap whenever my parents tried to force apologies from me. "If you can't treat him right, you can leave this house." Now, standing in Amelia's office, I finally understood. Some debts aren't meant to be repaid. And some families aren't worth the forgiveness they demand. The moment my grandmother died, they pounced like vultures. They confined my grandfather, forcing him to rewrite his will as my father screamed, "I'm your living son. Why leave everything to Joey? Shouldn't Luis get his share?" That darkest period still haunts me. The endless days trapped abroad, the desperate pleas to return. I remember the icy rain soaking through my shoes as I stood outside the hospital, feverish and shaking. Just when I thought I might collapse, a purple umbrella appeared overhead. Amelia's eyes held that sorrowful look I'd come to know so well. "I came to find you, Joey," she'd whispered. She brought me to grandfather's bedside where he grasped my hand with failing strength. "This company is our life's work," he rasped. "Will you guard it for us?" After the funeral, my parents showed their true colors. They locked me in the basement, rationing food and water while threatening electroshock therapy unless I signed over my shares. It was Amelia who smuggled meals through the basement window, Amelia who convinced her parents to intervene when they tried to have me committed. "You're not sick," she'd insist night after night. Now this same Amelia stood before me demanding I surrender grandfather's company, speaking of forgiveness as if I were the one who needed absolution. The irony burned like acid in my throat. A sudden clarity washed over me. I began laughing, not the bitter chuckle she expected, but deep, cathartic laughter that made her recoil. "What's wrong with you?" she demanded, reaching for my hand. I wrenched free. "Get out." Her expression hardened. With a snap of her fingers, security swarmed in. As hands grabbed at me, decades of suppressed trauma erupted. The needles, the restraints, the cold basement floor. I swung a potted plant like a weapon, creating space to breathe. Somewhere in the struggle, my fingers found the panic button Leona had given me. 10, 9, 8. Amelia's designer heel hovered above my hand. "What did you say?" she sneered. 7, 6, 5. The door exploded inward. Leona stood framed in the wreckage, fist still extended through the splintered wood. Before anyone could react, she tossed aside 3 guards and sent Amelia sprawling with a well-placed kick. "Joey," she breathed, helping me up. "Let's go." Amelia's shriek followed us down the hall. "Joey, how dare you leave?" Leona took me to her sparse apartment where we drank in silence until dawn. When I finally spoke, it all poured out: grandfather's last days, the crumbling company, the unbearable weight of legacy. "You've got it backwards," Leona interrupted. "That company wasn't your burden. It was your armor." Her words struck like lightning. All these years I'd seen myself as the sacrificial heir, never realizing grandfather had been protecting me all along. As sunlight crept through the blinds, I noticed the fading bruise on Leona's collarbone. "How many days has it been?" I teased. "Why hasn't it faded?" She swatted my hand away, ears burning crimson. "Don't pretend to care now." Our relationship had evolved as naturally as breathing. One night after cooking me dinner, she'd kissed me, and I'd discovered the woman who could shatter marble tables with her fists turned to putty in my arms. The day of my ousting dawned absurdly bright. My father's triumphant smirk faltered as 30 key employees stood when I did, following me out in silent rebellion. What's happening?" Father stammered. I flashed him a shark's grin. "You just slit your own throat." They wouldn't realize it immediately, but the Fu Corporation's collapse was now inevitable. Amelia waited outside, her offer dripping with condescension. "Come with me. I'll help you start over." I stared at this woman who'd once been my salvation and now embodied my betrayal, seeing her clearly for the first time. Some bonds, like grandfather's legacy, were worth fighting for. Others needed to be left in the past where they belonged. Amelia's fingers dug into my arm as she demanded, "Why do you think I would go with you?" Her voice cracked with barely contained emotion. Before I could answer, Leona materialized at my side like an overprotective shadow, pressing her face against my chest while glaring daggers at Amelia. "I told you," she growled, the threat evident in her tone. "In a law-abiding society, don't mess with my man." Then, with a dramatic shift that would have been comical in any other situation, she pouted up at me. "You promised to take responsibility for me?" Making me look like some heartless playboy. I couldn't help but chuckle at her antics, ruffling her hair affectionately. "I will. I never said I wouldn't." Amelia's eyes turned glassy with unshed tears. "You're with her." The betrayal in her voice was palpable. "You lied to me, didn't you? I can't believe this." The sheer absurdity of the situation made me laugh, which only seemed to infuriate him more. "Think you've won? Is that it?" Louise sneered. "She never loved you. Everything she did, bringing you back, protecting you, it was all for me." The crack of Amelia's palm against Louise's face echoed through the office. In the ringing silence that followed, I reached for my phone. With a few taps, Amelia's own voice filled the room. "How could I care if Joey lives or dies? If he just died over there, It would have caused an investigation that might have involved Luis's parents. I couldn't let that happen. Amelia went pale as the recording played. When it ended, she whispered, "If you knew, why did you stay with me?" I took my time answering, studying the ceiling as if it held the secrets of the universe. After losing my grandparents, after being betrayed by my own parents, I needed something to hold on to, I admitted quietly. Your reasons didn't matter then. You were kind to me when no one else was. My gaze dropped to meet hers. But loving you was always a losing game. My grandfather used to say you have to pick things up before you can put them down. To let you go, I first had to have you. The horror dawning on Amelia's face was interrupted by the office door slamming open. Leona's bag came flying in first, hitting Amelia square in the stomach. I leave for 3 hours and you're already causing trouble? Leona raged as she launched herself at me, her arms wrapping around my neck as I caught her. So annoying. Amelia clutched her stomach, her face ashen. This is revenge, isn't it? You're not really together. You're just trying to hurt me. Her voice broke. Fine, I lose. Joey, I give up. Just come back. I'll agree to anything you want. Leona practically vibrated with outrage in my arms. You're overthinking it, I told Amelia wearily. This isn't revenge. I just don't love you anymore. I didn't wait to see her reaction, but Leona's triumphant crow of "Did you hear that? He's mine now," followed us as I carried her away. Later, when the dust had settled, Leona paced my office like a caged animal. How did she even get up here? She fumed. Is security just for show? We should fire them all. Her restless energy was giving me a headache. Come here, I said, pulling her into my lap when she passed close enough. Where were you earlier, anyway? The way she hesitated told me something was up before she even spoke. She reached for the finance magazine on my desk, flipping to a particular interview. You know this guy? She asked, pointing to the CEO on the cover. Yeah, of course. He's my dad, Leona finished. And that design studio I work at? It's mine. She bit her lip. Turns out I'm actually that spoiled rich kid you're always complaining about, the kind who should be living off their family's wealth. The pieces clicked into place, her business acumen, her design knowledge, even the way she carried herself. So why were you delivering packages? I had to ask. Her face fell. Company went broke. Couldn't make payroll. She looked so miserable I had to kiss her. Bring me your financials, I told her. We'll figure this out together. In the weeks that followed, as Yellow Jacket continued to thrive, the news about Fu Corporation's decline became impossible to ignore. My father had set up some lavish studio for Luis, throwing money at overhyped projects and celebrity endorsements. My mother hosted increasingly extravagant parties, basking in their fleeting success. Meanwhile, my phone kept lighting up with calls from Amelia. Always drunk, always late at night. Can I block her? Leona asked one evening, already tapping away at my phone. I nodded, watching as she did it with satisfaction. Some bridges needed burning. And as for security, well, let's just say Leona took her job as my protector very seriously. She might have been born in Rome, but she'd chosen to build her own empire, just like I was building mine. Leona's reward for good performance came with unexpected nerves. She wanted me to meet her parents. Her mother welcomed me warmly, but her father's hesitation was palpable. When we exchanged contacts, his first message stunned us both. Are you interested in joining my company? That scheming old fox. Leona groaned, gripping the steering wheel. He's given up on me and wants to poach you instead. As we drove, she vented about the endless pressure to take over the family business. I waited for a lull in her tirade before casually suggesting, what if we had a child and passed this responsibility to them? Problem solved permanently. The car screeched to a halt. Leona's wide eyes reflected streetlights as she turned to me, cheeks flushing crimson. What did you just say? Permanent solution, I repeated, producing the ring I'd carried for weeks. The velvet box trembled slightly in my hand. When had my palms gotten so sweaty? This isn't how I planned it, I admitted. but the moment feels right. Miss Leona, will you marry Mr. Joey? Tears spilled over as she launched across the console, nearly strangling me with her embrace. Yes, 1,000 times yes. The Fu family's collapse came swiftly. My father, never the sharpest businessman, walked straight into a bribery trap, 20 million yuan buying him a lengthy prison sentence. When my mother demanded I pay his way out, I could only laugh. He broke the law. What exactly am I supposed to do? Money solves everything, she insisted. Your grandfather made you promise to care for us. Grandpa said to make sure you don't starve. I corrected. Consider that promise kept. My warning about her own reckless behavior went unheeded 3 days later. Police called about her attempted bribery. You're on your own, I told her at the station. But the company is yours to handle now, I interrupted, suspicion flaring. What did you do? Her evasive eyes told me everything. It's just, that project seemed so profitable. Cold realization settled in my gut. You embezzled. When she started blubbering about family legacy, I cut her off. You have another son. Let Luis clean up your mess. That spiteful suggestion bore unexpected fruit when Amelia called that night. Luis came to me for money. She rushed out before I could hang up. I refused, Joey. I chose you. The desperation in her voice turned my stomach. You should have helped him, I said quietly. At least then I'd believe you capable of loving someone. But you love no one. Joe, don't. The childhood nickname, given by my grandparents, meaning broad-minded survivor, burned like acid from her lips. Only Leona got to call me that now, whispering it against my skin like a sacred vow. Our wedding came a year later, amid the final collapse of the Fu Empire. My father in prison, the company bankrupt, and my mother paralyzed after being pushed by Luis during a fight over embezzled funds. We housed them together in a nursing home, my final act of twisted mercy. Luis initially balked until I mentioned his knife-wielding ex-wife was hunting him. His shriek of terror was almost worth the years of torment. Leona broke 3 tables watching their security feeds, rage trembling through her as my mother screamed, "If only Joey were my only son! Don't torture yourself!" I murmured that night, holding her as she shook. "If I'd met you sooner. You're here now." I kissed her forehead. That's what matters. And it was true. The childhood scars remained, but between my grandparents' love and now Leona's, the scales had balanced. Life wasn't perfect, but it was enough. The murmurs of the crowd swelled as Leona suddenly launched her verbal assault. "Mad at you?" Her voice cut through the whispers like a blade. "What exactly did you do to Joey? Don't be vague. Lay it all out." She stepped forward, her small frame radiating dangerous energy. "Bringing a gift doesn't make up for shit. Are you apologizing or just being passive-aggressive? Because if it's the latter, let's air all your dirty laundry right here." Luis opened his mouth, but Leona's words came too fast, too sharp. Amelia's icy interruption was almost a relief. "Who are you?" Her gaze swept over Leona's hand, clutching my arm like it was something diseased. I tightened my grip on Leona and stepped forward. "And who are you, miss?" The world tilted violently as Leona suddenly yanked me sideways with impossible strength. My feet literally left the ground as she repositioned me like a rag doll. The crowd gasped. "What the?" I sputtered, suddenly remembering my assistant's warning. "Loves boxing. Fierce lady." Apparently that hadn't been an exaggeration. Amelia's eyes blazed. "Take your hands off him." Leona just raised her chin and deliberately threaded her fingers through mine. "Harassing someone else's date is illegal, sweetheart." "I'm his Fian," Amelia began, but Luis cut her off with a panicked grip on her arm. The silent communication between them was more telling than any confession. With one last glance at me, Amelia let Luis lead her away, her resentment simmering beneath the surface. The banquet was exhausting, but Leona played her role flawlessly, even if she complained afterward. "My face hurts from fake smiling," she groaned, rubbing her cheeks. "And starving while pretending to be dignified? Act 2. I stared at her. You ate 4 whole chickens. They were small chickens. I handed her a thick red envelope, which she accepted while muttering about being a respectable person. Her indignation was almost cute. Amelia was waiting in my hallway, her expression unreadable. When I tried to pass, she slammed into me, her arms locking around me like steel bands. Her mouth crashed against mine before I could react. I shoved her off hard. What the hell? She came at me again, and this time I palmed her collarbone, holding her at arm's length. Her laugh was ugly. You're pushing me away now? Weren't you the one begging to fuck me every night? Even after I dumped you. The words hit like a gut punch. So this was how she saw me, a desperate dog panting after scraps. Sure, I wanted you, I said calmly. And you wanted me too, until Luis snapped his fingers. We both got what we needed. I tightened my grip. Touch me again, and I'll file charges. The family dinner was exactly the trap I expected. My mother cornered me in the kitchen. Luis and Amelia are getting engaged. Return what you stole. I almost laughed. Stole? She was never yours to give. When Luis entered, Mom's demeanor shifted instantly. Your brother brought you a gift. I smirked at Luis. Do you really want a gift from me? His flinch was satisfying. Back in the dining room, I eyed the marble table laden with Luis' favorites. One call brought Leona bursting in moments later. Hand me the hammer, I ordered. Instead, she cocked her fist and crack. The table shattered like glass under her punch. The look on my family's faces was worth every penny of the bonus I gave her. Later, at the security booth, I finally understood Leona's true skills. The delivery girl uniform had been a ruse. This woman was a force of nature. As we drove away, I realized something. In this world of liars and users, I'd somehow found someone terrifyingly, wonderfully real. My mother lunged forward, her manicured nails aimed at my face, but Leona intercepted her with the reflexes of a trained fighter. Try it, Auntie, Leona warned, raising her open palm. My slaps hit harder than your son's weak punches. Mom stumbled back, clutching her chest dramatically. Have you gone completely mad, Joey? Luis rushed to her side, his face purple with outrage. Apologize to Mom right now. I turned away, nodding to Leona. Let's go. With her as my shield, the crowd parted like the Red Sea. Amelia materialized in the courtyard, her gaze burning holes through where Leona's hand rested on my arm. Who is she? The question dripped with venom. I pulled Leona closer, her warmth steadying me. What does it look like? As I turned to leave, Amelia's voice cracked. Luis wants to be with me. I paused. Congratulations. You finally caught your son. The bitterness in my tone surprised even me. Should I send a wedding gift? Amelia's laugh sounded like shattering glass. Good. Very good. As she stormed off, Leona flexed her hand. Why do I feel like she's the human embodiment of spoiled milk? I eyed her tiny frame with newfound respect. How are you actually this strong? She twirled her fist by her cheek in a mock-cute gesture that would have been adorable if I hadn't witnessed her punch through marble. Mount May trained. Muay Thai black belt. Judo enthusiast. Her grin turned wicked. Interested. Personal secretary, I blurted out. How much? Leona held up 5 fingers. When I said 50,000, her eyes bulged. She clearly meant 5. What followed was an octopus-like hug and declarations of eternal service that left me wheezing. Okay, just oxygen please. That night, as yellow wine burned down my throat, my phone rang. Luis and Amelia were just sucking face at the club, a friend reported. Weren't you two engaged? I switched to speaker for the whole group. Amelia and I are done. She's free to marry whoever. The click of me hanging up echoed like a gunshot. The midnight knock revealed Leona grinning on my doorstep, pointing across the hall. New neighbor. A secretary should live close, right? Her rental agreement looked suspiciously pre-signed. As I sighed, she mimed zipping her lips. Yet somehow the silent victory dance she did in my hallway was louder than words. Office introductions the next morning were priceless. My assistant's jaw dropped when I presented Leona as my new secretary. The whispers as we passed. Is that why she smashed the table? Were almost as entertaining as Leona's oblivious response. Everyone's smiling, so I smiled too. Her true value showed when my mother and Luis tried storming my meeting. One look from Leona had them following her like chastened children. By the time I returned, Mom was mid-meltdown. You promised not to tell Luis about Amelia. I made no such promise, I said, watching Luis pale. Besides, how do you know he wasn't already aware? Luis's jaw worked. You took advantage of Amelia knowing she loved me. I stepped into his space. Were you married? Dating? No. My laugh was razor sharp. She was nothing to you, just like you were off playing house with your model wife. Yet you dare question me? When Mom raised her hand, I caught her wrist mid-swing. Luis feinted a punch but froze under Leona's predatory grin. Security? I sighed. Or do you prefer to be dragged out? Amelia's revenge came via rejected contracts. Her office ultimatum was laughable. Step down, and maybe your parents will forgive you. Forgive me? The word tasted foul. For what? Existing? Leona's panic button weighed heavily in my pocket as Amelia continued. Oblivious. If you just compromise, this company is my grandfather's legacy. I cut in. The same man your family helped imprison in his own home to change his will. The memory surged, grandfather's trembling hands, the way they tricked me abroad. You found me in the rain that day, remember? Took me to his sickbed, where he made me promise. Amelia flinched as if struck. Good. Let her remember the boy she'd pretended to save, only to betray. The rain fell in icy sheets as I stumbled through the streets, my shoes soaked through, my body shivering with more than just cold. They'd locked me out again, my own parents, after grandmother's funeral. The memory of father's sneering voice still echoed in my skull. You look like an ungrateful wolf. Impossible to raise well. Better to start fresh with Luis. I'd spent my childhood tiptoeing around their disdain. Every attempt to approach my baby brother ended with mother's sharp slap and accusations. What were you going to do to Luis's eyes? When all I'd wanted was to touch his tiny fingers. Only my grandparents' intervention saved me from worse. I could still hear grandmother's shaking voice defending me. I raised this boy. I know his heart. That night in the rain, when I thought I might collapse from hunger and grief, Amelia appeared like a specter under her purple umbrella. The way the raindrops caught in her eyelashes almost made her look like she cared. I came to find you, Joey, she'd said, leading me to grandfather's sickbed where he made me promise to protect the company. Their life's work. How bitter the irony that now, years later, this same Amelia stood in her sleek office ordering security to restrain me. Forgiveness dripped from her lips like poison as her stiletto hovered above my pinned hand. The panic button in my pocket felt suddenly flimsy. Would Leona really come in time? The door exploded inward at my silent count of 2. Splinters rained down as Leona stood framed in the wreckage, her small fist still extended. The guards barely had time to blink before she tossed them aside like ragdolls and sent Amelia sprawling with a kick that would make her Muay Thai instructor proud. Joey, she breathed, helping me up. My hands trembled against hers, not from fear, but from the adrenaline crash of too many memories surfacing at once. The basement they'd locked me in, the electroshock threats, the way Amelia used to smuggle me food through the window while whispering, "You're not sick." Leona's apartment was blessedly quiet, the bare walls a comfort after the day's chaos. She produced 2 beers with an awkward shrug. It's all I've got. We drank in silence until the alcohol loosened my tongue enough to voice the fear I'd carried since grandfather's death. I'm failing them. The company is dying despite everything. Leona's insight struck like one of her punches. Your grandfather didn't give you a company. He gave you armor. The simple truth of it unraveled years of self-doubt. That legacy wasn't just a burden. It had been my protection all along. As dawn painted the sky, I asked how she'd arrived so quickly to rescue me. Her grin was unrepentant. I never left. A good secretary always watches her boss's back. The warmth in her eyes promised more than professional loyalty. Outside, the Fu empire crumbled exactly as I'd planned. Amelia's business attacks were expected, Luis's pleading visit laughable. Father just wants a comfortable retirement. He'd whined before Leona threw him out. His parting threat, "You'll beg me someday," would have been concerning if I hadn't already quietly reclaimed every deal Amelia blocked through Dongboa investment. Watching my loyal employees prepare to follow me wherever I went next, I finally understood grandfather's last lesson. Some things must be held tightly so they can be properly released. The Fune might not survive to the fourth generation, but I would, with Leona's hand in mine, and the weight of expectation finally lifted from my shoulders. Leona's fingers tightened around the steering wheel as she confessed, "That design studio? It's mine." The car swerved slightly as she turned to face me. "Turns out I'm exactly that spoiled rich kid you complain about. The one who should be living off family money but insists on playing entrepreneur." Her laugh was self-deprecating as she explained her father's disappointment, how she'd rejected business school for design classes, turned down studying abroad to train in martial arts. "It's not rebellion," she said, eyes fixed on the road. "I've met too many brilliant women stuck working dead-end jobs because no one gave them a chance. That classmate of mine? She could have been the next big fashion designer, but now she scans groceries at a convenience store." I studied her profile, the way her jaw clenched when she admitted, "I took delivery jobs because we couldn't make payroll." The proud Leona, reduced to hustling packages to keep her dream alive. "Show me your books," I said, reaching across to squeeze her hand. When she asked what if the company failed, I kissed her knuckles. "Then we failed together. But I have a feeling about this." As Yellow Jacket flourished, the Fu Corporation's demise played out like a bad soap opera. Father's new studio for Louis hemorrhaged money, while Mother hosted increasingly desperate parties to maintain appearances. Their final undoing came when Father took a bribe large enough to guarantee a lengthy prison stay. "Pay to get him out," Mother demanded when she cornered me at the office. I almost admired her audacity. "He broke the law. What exactly am I supposed to do? Your grandfather made you promise to care for us." His exact words were, "Make sure they don't starve." I gestured to the lavish pearls around her neck. "You're clearly managing." 3 days later, police called about her attempted bribery. Watching her sob in the interrogation room, I realized this woman would never change. "The company's your problem now," I told her. "You have another son, remember?" That night, Amelia's drunken call came through. "Luis asked me for money," she slurred. I said no. "Doesn't that prove I love you?" My silence stretched before I finally responded. "You should have helped him. At least then I'd believe you capable of loving anyone besides yourself." When she whimpered Joe, the childhood nickname grated like sandpaper, that sacred name my grandparents had given me, now tainted by her lips, Leona's fingers hovered over my phone. "Can I block her?" I confirmed, watching with satisfaction as she did. The meeting with Leona's parents was its own special torture. Her mother welcomed me warmly, but her father's calculating gaze never left me, his text arriving before we'd even left the driveway. "Interested in joining my company?" Leona groaned. "He's trying to poach you because I won't take over." I let the silence stretch before casually suggesting, "What if we had a kid and dumped the whole mess on them?" The car screeched to a halt. Leona's wide eyes reflected the streetlights as she turned to me, her blush visible even in the dim cabin. What did you just say?" "Permanent solution," I repeated, producing the ring I'd been carrying for weeks. The velvet box trembled slightly in my palm. Since when did my hand shake? "This isn't how I planned it," I admitted, "but the moment feels right. Miss Leona, will you marry Mr. Joey?" Tears spilled down her cheeks as she launched across the console, nearly strangling me in her embrace. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." The Fu family's final act was almost poetic in its self-destruction. Luis, desperate after Amelia fled the country, pushed his mother during an argument about embezzled funds. The oncoming car left her paralyzed. We caught him at the airport, his designer suitcase stuffed with stolen company documents. "Relax," I told his panic screams. "We found you a lovely nursing home right next to Mother." When he resisted, I leaned in close. "Or should I tell your ex-wife where you are? I hear she's been eager to reconnect." His subsequent confinement with his bitter, Broken mother was more satisfying than any prison sentence. Through the security monitors, we watched their endless cycle of blame and recrimination, Louise shrieking about how her abuse made him sabotage me. Mother wailing that she wished I'd been her only child. Leona destroyed 3 tables that night, her rage barely contained until we returned home and she could collapse against me, trembling. They don't deserve to live in your head rent-free, she muttered into my chest. I kissed her hair, marveling at how far we'd come. The boy who'd survived on scraps of affection now had love in abundance. The Fu name might be ashes, but from them, we'd built something far more enduring. Leona's body went rigid against mine. You knew. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I gently pinched her nose, smiling when she wrinkled it in protest. When you took so long coming back, I figured it out. Sorry for eavesdropping. Pulling her closer, I felt the tension in her shoulders. I'm not angry, I murmured into her hair. Don't apologize. I can imagine what they said. I'd rather you didn't torture yourself listening to it. Her grip on my shirt tightened. If only I'd met you sooner. The ache in her voice made my chest constrict. Cupping her face, I wiped away the tears she refused to shed. You're here now. That's what matters. My thumb traced the curve of her cheekbone. In all the ways that count, you came right on time. A wet laugh escaped her as she buried her face in my neck. Don't be sad, she mumbled against my skin. The irony made me chuckle. Honestly, I'm not. It was true. The old wounds had long since scarred over. When I was young and stupid enough to hope for their love, I kept going back for more punishment. After enough burned hands, even a child learns to stay away from fire. Leona's breathing hitched as I continued. My grandparents more than made up for it. And now I have you. I pressed a kiss to her temple. However much pain life deals out, it always seems to balance the scales eventually. She lifted her head, eyes searching mine. But is it enough? I thought of cold basements and empty promises, of purple umbrellas in the rain, of marble tables shattering under a woman's fist, of all the broken things that somehow led me here. Perfect. I shook my head with a smile. No, but more than enough.